Shalom from Israel, I'm Ariel Ben Abraham. This week we read Parshat Vaeira. Literally means, and he appeared. Also, it's interesting because in Hebrew, the word to see also means to appear. It's very interesting. So we can see an Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob saw God, or at the same time, God appeared to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. This is very important because this is some kind of dynamic process. It's not just seeing, but it's actually appearing. So it's like we see what is appeared. It's pretty obvious. But it's interesting the way in Hebrew, the implications of the meaning seeing and appearing at the same time. It's like the cause and the effect happen at the same time or get together. So it's like what appears before us and what we see are there. It's happening. So it's very interesting. So the portion starts with this verb Vaeira, and the idea is to tell Moses, God is telling Moses, the way I appeared to your forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the way I related to them was different than the way I'm related to you now. So like they didn't know me, says God to Moses. The patriarchs didn't know me with the name Havaya, the four-letter name. So like they knew me through the name of Elohim, but they didn't know me by the name, the four-letter name. So this is, we refer this to this issue or subject about the names of God in the previous commentary on Exodus, when we're talking about the names. But in this case, in this particular commentary, we want to reiterate the meanings of the names of God, Elohim and Havaya, the four-letter name, because that's the way God wants to relate with Israel. We're going to relate through abundant loving kindness and compassion. That's the qualities associated with the name Havaya, the four-letter name, with Israel. And by extension, to all his creation, the material world, what we can perceive through our senses. So it's like, we have to understand, this is very important in our blog, God's love. That's what we call it, God's love. We are an emanation of God's love. We have to understand and conceive the creation, the entire creation, what we can perceive as creation, what we see around us, as an emanation of God's love. So love is our common bond with our Creator. We are an emanation of His love. Therefore, love is our common bond with Him. The way we relate with Him, relate to Him. This is essential. And this is manifest in this dialogue between God and Moses, relating to the future, the immediate future of Israel. It's like the way I'm relating to you. I'm going to save you, says God to Moses and Israel, from the slavery in Egypt. Because love is our common bond with you and I. That's what God says. So He's going to execute, He's going to reveal His love for Israel by the things, the miracles that he is about to do in this portion in order to liberate, redeem Israel from the slavery in Egypt. So what we want to emphasize in this commentary, as we have done in our commentaries in the blog, is to say that God's love is what rules in His creation. It's like as an emanation, as we said before, as an emanation of God's love. His creation has to relate back to Him in the same way that He relates to us. So it's the name, the four-letter name represents abundant loving kindness and compassion. That's the way we have to relate with each other and to Him, by being good, having loving kindness and compassion. That's the idea. So that's the main lesson God is going to teach Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Who is the ruler? Who is the one who is ruling life and the world? So then he sends Moses to Pharaoh, also with his brother. We need to explain why the two brothers, Aaron and Moses, are together in this mission. We have to understand them in the context of the future, what is going to happen later. It's like what Moses represents in our consciousness, as well as what Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, the priest, Aaron the priest, also represents in our consciousness. They complement each other. They're qualities that are complementary. So what Moses represents in our consciousness, our awareness, our knowledge of God. That's why Moses is so close to God in this story. Because he knows Him, he knows God, he is with Him. But again, we have to understand Moses, our knowledge, and this is the Torah, by the way. That's why the Torah is given to Moses, or through Moses, to Israel. The Torah represents the knowledge of God. So we know God through the Torah. The knowledge, the awareness we gain in our knowledge of God is what defines what we are, who we are. So speaking about the Jewish identity, the Torah is, as we have said many times, our ID card. The Torah defines who we are. But again, that who we are is the knowledge that we have of our Creator. It is important to emphasize and repeat and reiterate that the whole purpose of life, human life, the whole purpose of humankind is to know our Creator. We have to know from where we came from. Otherwise, we're going to live based on what we believe or create or feel of who we are. So we have to give ourselves our own identity. We have to find out one, or two, or three, or four, many. But then the Torah is telling us there's this one identity here. This is who you are. This is who we are. Therefore, we have to be that. We have to embrace who we are, our essence and identity. That's the whole point. So Moses represents the knowledge of our Creator, who is giving it to us by extension. So we have a Moses in our consciousness. Now, Aaron the priest, represents the permanent connection with God. One is the awareness, the knowledge of God. And the second is the culmination, the purpose, the realization of that awareness, which is being permanently connected with God. That's why he inherited the priesthood. And Moses, the awareness, the knowledge. So the realization of the knowledge is the connection, the permanent connection with God. So this is the dynamics here. There are three main characters here in this story, besides God, obviously. Moses, his brother Aaron, and Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. So from now on, all the dynamics are going to work through these three characters. They're going to relate, Aaron and Moses are going to relate to Pharaoh. Now, what Pharaoh represents? We have said that Pharaoh represents, according to the mystic Hasidic tradition, he represents the egocentric mentality, an egocentric approach to life. Very egocentric, by the way. This is extreme. Pharaoh represents the approach, the attitude, the belief that I'm my own God. That's the way it goes. And we really, in one way or another, consider ourselves individually our own gods. The gods of our lives. It's like, I have a body, I have a mind, I have emotions, I have feelings, I have passions, I have instincts. I'm the God of those. I do whatever I want with those. So whatever I think, whatever I imagine, whatever I desire, I'm the God of those. So I want to prevail over everything that I can do through my physical body, my thought, my emotions, my feelings, my passion, and my instincts. So then we start imagining things that we want or desire based on ego's feeling or belief of lack. It's like, I lack something. I need this. I need something. Then I have to go out and get it. The means we're not going to discuss about. We're not going to discuss about that. But that's the idea how ego acts. We have to take it. We have to understand ego in the positive way that it is. If we have it, we have to see that God gave us ego, as well as free will, as well as a mind, as well as emotions, as well as a physical body. We have to know that there's something sacred about that. So we have to understand ego as our driving force, what makes us really feel alive and existing. It's like nurturing the body, for instance, feeding our needs, fulfilling our needs. It's part of ego's job. So ego is good. The whole problem, as well as with the emotions, the mind, the feelings, the passions and instincts, and the rest of all different dimensions of levels in consciousness, depends on how we guide them. The Hasidic tradition also said, we have said this before, it's one of the fundamental principles of the Hasidic thought. Every level of consciousness in life, including the physical body, are vessels. Empty vessels. So there's nothing in the mind, there's nothing in emotions, there's nothing in passions, there's nothing in instincts. Only what we put in them. So that's why they are vessels. So some people complain, my mind doesn't stop. I need to do meditation, I have to get rid of all my thoughts. I'm thinking all the time, how can I free my mind? The mind is an empty vessel, there's nothing there. So we have to look what we put in our mind, in our thoughts. And then we realize that we are the ones who put whatever we put in our feelings, in our emotions, in our thoughts, in our mind. And then we have to do the cleaning. So the realization is like, excuse me, the only way to get rid of all this chattering of the mind, to clean the mind, not to blame the mind, or to blame ego, or to blame the emotions. So we have to be aware of what we put in every level and dimension in consciousness. So ego indeed is the little God that God may put in us. Okay, you're gonna be a little God. That's the ego. That's the idea. Otherwise, why would we conceive ego in a negative way if we know that God gave us ego? So then we have to think about, okay, if God gave me this, as well as free will, as well as emotions, passions, etc., what do I have to do with that? What is asking me, God is asking me to conduct? What is the purpose of having an ego? What is the purpose of emotions? What is the purpose of passions? What is the purpose of thought, discernment, intellect? Everything has a purpose. We have to find out about that. How do we find about that? We read the Torah. The Torah tells us, instructs us. We have said that the translation of the word Torah is instruction. It's like, here is the Torah, here is the instruction. These are the things that we have to feel our consciousness. The way we think, the way we feel, the way we speak, the way we act. So we have to pay attention to that. Then, ego, uncontrolled, is the problem. So it's like doing things at the expense of other people, at the expense of our own life. Then we have a problem. Then this little God is creating trouble. It's not honoring the higher God who created us. So we're supposed to be His image and likeness. Therefore, we're supposed to act consequently, accordingly. So that we have ego, we have eyes, we have to consecrate them because God is sacred. Be holy because I am holy. That's what God says repeatedly in the Torah. And we have to find out what sacredness is. And that's the goodness. What we call in our blog, love's ways and attributes. To doing things out of goodness for the sake of goodness. And then these attributes and qualities of goodness, which are love's qualities and goodness, and ways, I'm sorry. That's what we have to feel our consciousness. Everything, ego included. So our ego, our vital force, we have to guide it through and for the ways and means and attributes of love. So then we have peace, we have harmony, and everything is just fine, as good as it was meant to be from the beginning. It's quite simple. So then we see Aharon and Moses struggling with Pharaoh. It's like the knowledge of God is telling Pharaoh, hey, God is asking. God wants. So Pharaoh answered, who's your God? I don't know your God. Of course you don't know your God. Says Moses, probably, in that dialogue. How could you know God if you believe that you are the only God? So then we have to translate that in our consciousness. So what is ego? I mean, we have to have a serious conversation with our Pharaoh inside of us. We have a Moses, we have an Aaron, we have a Pharaoh also. Let's not forget about that. In the same way that there's a Jacob, Israel in our consciousness, there's an Esau, there's a Cain, there's a Laban, all the characters in the Torah in our consciousness. The Torah is the blueprint of creation. We are a microcosm of that creation. Therefore, all the Torah is in our consciousness. And we have to reveal, we have to discover what is the purpose of those characters, of those circumstances, places, situations, commandments. What are the purpose of them? Then we have to do them. Then we will know the purpose. This is not theory. It's like when we talk about goodness, that we really experience love and goodness, or the goodness of love, as we do it. So it's nothing theoretical. That's what we want in theory. So in practice, we feel it, we experience it as if, oh yes, this is the purpose of it. But as long as we don't experience love's ways and attributes in everything we say, we act, we feel, we think, we're not going to be able to appreciate that. We have to live it. It's not theory. We have to embrace love. We have to feel it, the goodness of it. Be happy about it. As we do. Family, closest friends. But the idea is to expand that scope to the rest of the creation. Not just the neighborhood or the city or the country, but the whole thing. Very, very, very important. Like we cannot limit something that is unlimited. So if we are an emanation of God's love, which is infinite, then we have something in our consciousness that is infinite. So why the limitations? Why the restrictions? Why the borders? Then we have to think about that. Then it's interesting because Egypt represents constraints. That's the meaning, the literal meaning of Mizraim. It's like constraints. So ego constrains us. The moment that we believe that we are separated, we are on God's individual in our lives, we are constraining ourselves to egos, fantasies, and illusions. And they become our jail, our prison. Then we have to liberate ourselves from those restrictions and constrictions and limitations of Egypt, of Pharaoh, of ego, and then go out, up to the promised land, which is the goodness of life. That's what the promised land represents. Land as life. Yeah, it is a geographic place, of course. But at the same time, it resonates in our consciousness as life. It's experiencing the goodness of life in our consciousness, in ourselves, individually, and then collectively. So we have to get out of ego's constraints. We can't fight ego, especially the negative trends of ego. When we feed them, when we have fed this force, this vessel, we have filled it with fantasies and illusions that we are trapped in it. We can get out. We are addicted. We are obsessed. We are attached. We are bound to the things that we have created in our own consciousness. It's obvious. The vessel is empty. What we put there, this is what we're going to have. So let's think about that. If I create my own fantasies and illusions, then I'm going to get trapped in them. I'm going to become like them. Those are the idols. That's the idolatry. We are attached to things that we create. Idols are created by ourselves. They don't exist by themselves. They don't breathe. They don't see, they don't smell, they don't move. Those are fantasies and illusions. Those are the ephemeral, the transitory, the transient thoughts, feelings that we experience momentarily and want to make eternal. We can't, because they are ephemeral. They don't last. So again, the fight with ego is difficult. Therefore, God is the only one who can tell ego, hey, it's not going to work this way. It's going to work this way. So God has to fight the battle against Pharaoh and Egypt. We can't do it. Now it's interesting because our oral tradition says that we were millions in Egypt. That there were more than the Egyptians. There were more Israelites in Egypt than Egyptians. So why we couldn't have defeated Pharaoh and the Egyptians and forget about the whole thing? No. So we have to understand this in a deeper level or higher level. We were in Egypt enslaved by this minority of people, basically because we allowed them, we assimilated to their ways. Later we will see that our oral tradition says that only 20% of the population, 20%, so there were, let's say, about 3-4 million people who left Egypt, 600 souls plus elderly, women and children. 20%, there were 4 million. Imagine the rest. It would be probably like 50 millions left or more. So it was a lot of people. So the lesson here also is that not everybody is going to leave Egypt. Not everybody is going to leave ego's negative trends and tendencies. Everybody, we have to see that not everybody is capable to do that. It's not that some can and some cannot. It's that some accepted or accept God's regency, guidance in this battle. And some don't. So in other words, when we realize that we're incapable to control or get rid of our addictions, our obsessions, etc., our negative thinking, behavior, emotions, whatever, depression, anger, you name it. We have to call God. Like, God, help me. I can't deal with my anger. I can't deal with my pride. I can't deal with my greed. I can't deal with my lust. I can't deal with my envy. Help me. Then he tells us how. It's like replaced egos, fantasies and illusions by or with love's ways and attributes. Be good. Try goodness for a change. For yourself and your surroundings. And you will see. It's as simple as that. It's a matter of choice. The problem is that we cannot make the choice. We are not able to defeat these negative trends. We can't. They are bigger than us. So we ask God, hey, you created this uncontrollable thing that I have in my consciousness. I can't control it. It's bigger than me. You put it there for me. Help me guide them in the right direction. And the best thing is through God's loves, which is manifested in our consciousness as love's ways and attributes. That's our common bond with God, as we have said many times. Then this Pharaoh is reluctant. It's like, no, I'd rather die. I'd rather destroy my empire than give in. This is ego speaking. That's why our mystical traditions is like, this guy represents ego. In attitude, it's worst. But it's part of our consciousness. We have to fight that. And God is going to do the miracle. He's going to break the rules. And I say, yeah, you are on the cause and effect. I'm going to break that for you. I'm going to make goodness prevail. So God starts showing His love, the way He relates with His creation through the miracles that He did. So in this portion, that with 7 plagues. As again, the idea of the place is to tell Pharaoh, God is God, is the only ruler of His own creation. And that he have to let go the goodness, the potential goodness in consciousness that represents the children of Israel. So we're talking about let go the goodness to honor me, to serve me. That's what God says. I don't want your ego, I don't want your negativity, I don't want your oppression, your exploitation, your deprivations. The lower aspects of consciousness represented by by Egypt, and Egypt. I want the goodness away. For the purpose of goodness. There's a promised land there. There's a good life. There's a goodness of life. That's the purpose. And there's a guideline called the Torah. This is the way you're going to do it. So then, this is the dynamics that we have to apply, relate to our own consciousness, our ego, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our passions, our instincts, how we want to direct them. What is the regency? What is the guideline? What is the one? Who's the one? What is going to rule in our consciousness? In order to free ourselves from the slavery under the negative fantasies, illusions, mirages of ego. That's the message that we wanted to deliver today. This week, Parshat Vaeira. And next week we're going to talk about a little bit more of this same subject. But again, the idea is to invite ourselves to think about who are the rulers in our consciousness. What we put in the vessels of our intellect, discernment, mind, emotions, feelings, passions, and instincts. What we say, what we speak, and what we do. Because all of those are our garments, what we wear, and how people see us wearing and showing. It's not about the other people. It's not about, I'm gonna dress with goodness, niceness, so I can please people's eyes, so they will admire me. No. This is for our own sake. There's a moment in which we're alone. We have to know what we have inside of us. What is us? In our loneliness. By loneliness, it's kind of individuality, like my own domain. In this creation of my own, that I am God. My God, the God of my life. What do I have in this kingdom? What I'm planting there? What I'm harvesting? For my own sake. It's like I'm seeing my own world, my own life. Then I have to watch out. I have to pay attention to what I plant, to what I wear, to what I put in my emotions. How do I react? How do I feel? How do I express? How do I manifest? How do I reveal my essence, what I think that is me, what defines me, my garments? That yes, this is who I am. And again, the battle is with ego. We have to, again, guide, conduct, direct this major vital force, driving force that keeps us alive and give it a sense of purpose. Our mystic sages have a beautiful metaphor. They say that it is interesting because they use the bull or the ox, which is the strongest bull, as the ego. It's interesting because one of the symbols of Egypt is the ox. So the ox represents this driving force, this amazing, powerful force in this animal. So they said in the Talmud, the bull have two things a bull can do. An ox, a wild ox actually. They define it as a wild ox. So it's not a regular ox, it's like very wild. That's ego, uncontrollable. So he can do two things. He can build a field or destroy a field. So you basically leave the wild ox in a vineyard, it's going to destroy it completely. However, how do we make the wild ox build a field, a vineyard, for instance? Prepare the field to plant a vineyard with a yoke. What is that yoke? Of ego. The yoke of heaven, the yoke of God. In this way, talking about the final redemption and the Messianic era, the yoke of love. Love's ways and attributes. So then we put the yoke on the wild ox and we can build, plant, and prepare a field, life. The field is the life. So what we make out of life, ego is gonna be the driving force, the wild ox, who is going to get us there. So we're gonna be able to do it through our emotion, through our thoughts, through our hands. We need an ox, a wild ox, to do it. You see, when it has a purpose, it's perfect. Everything is fine. When we have a good purpose. So all the battle with Pharaoh is, Pharaoh, you are not God. Ego, you are not God. Yes, you think that you control everything and everybody, but it doesn't work that way. You have to listen to goodness. We have to be careful because Pharaoh never gave in. He never did. Yeah, just one moment we say, okay, let go, let you people go, let's get out of here. I don't want you here after killing the firstborn and everything. But then he went after them, after the Israelites. So it's like, ego basically didn't learn the lesson. In spite of the 10 plagues, in spite of dying, crossing the Sea of Reefs, the Red Sea, Pharaoh stood there. She's like, well, what's the point? The point is that we save goodness in spite of ego. But it was never destroyed. I mean, God could have destroyed him. It's like, I created you, I can. But the idea is to learn a lesson from Pharaoh, from this reluctancy, this aghastness, to be good and do good and pursue good. They were chosen. To the Israelites, are the good people, were the good ones. We were saved from those negative forces, those negative tendencies in consciousness, the negative trends and tendencies of ego. Ego's fantasies and illusions. After all, they're fantasies. They do not transcend. The only thing that transcends is love. Love's ways and attributes, those are permanent. That's why we're alive, that's why we are born every day. The power of love. That's our common bond with the power of God's love. So powerful, you can see the creation that we can even measure, conceive. It's the biggest, the greatest love of all, God's love. Okay, so I hope that we get closer to God's love, our connection with our Creator, knowing a little more, a step closer to the one that we're looking for, because He's our Creator, in our yearning of His love, of being with Him, with His love. Okay, so have a pleasant, insightful, and extremely wonderful week. Have a blessed, extremely blessed Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, and until next week.